Coming up on Sports Paws, one men's lacrosse player took home another MAC Weekly Award. Who was it, and how would the Bobcats compete against two in-state teams?
The softball team was home this weekend for two doubleheaders, and one Bobcat reached a career milestone.
As always, we bring you this week's top 5 plays. You won't want to go anywhere. Sports Paws starts right now. It's 9:30 on Monday night. The mics are hot and the Sports Paws is on the air.
Good evening and welcome into Studio 125 alongside Robin Brown. I'm Drew Feinberg. We begin tonight's show with the men's lacrosse team. Eric Fekeda and his squad came into this week riding a 2-game win streak. The Bobcats would look to continue this win streak as the team traveled 30 minutes north to the University of Hartford. With the game tied 7-7 late in the third, Hartford outscored Quinnipiac 5-1 the rest of the way to hold on and defeat the Bobcats 12-6. QU fell behind 3-0 early, but battled back to take a 6-5 lead in the second quarter. In a closely contested game with both offenses clicking, Hartford never relinquished the lead throughout the contest. Junior Mike Fletcher and Ryan Lawson led the Bobcats with 2 goals each. Hartford's Griffin Feiner tallied 3 goals and 3 assists. Rian Davidson added 2 goals and 3 assists in the Hawks' victory over the Bobcats.
The 4-4 Bobcats then headed back home to Hamden to face the Crusaders of Holy Cross. Let's start with some action in the second quarter. Well, in this quarter, number 5, Tyler DeVito. Here we go, as this highlight's coming right in. As I said, Holy Cross is who we were playing, and Tyler DeVito is going to toss this ball over to Mike Fletcher, who gets the goal. As you can see, a little bit of celebration here. Number 4, Sean Mullaney, cradling the ball here, and he throws the... Bobcats on the attack here. And we're still holding right here. They're on the offensive end. Goes and he gets the ball in the goal.
Right there. Nice celly by him. Well, we are now actually going to be joined by men's lacrosse analyst Sean Raggio. And Sean, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here.
Well, Jake Tomsic, very hyped up freshman coming into this year. Do you think he is living up to the hype so far this year?
Absolutely. Jake has 8 points in 8 of his first 9 games as a Bobcat, including 13 goals, 11 assists, and 24 points. The assist total and the points total both lead the team. He even had 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points in that game against Holy Cross. And there's got to be teams watching all this tape on him day in and day out, but he still finds ways to score.
So, Sean, I also have to ask you, what has Adam Bellamy meant to this team as well?
He's meant a lot. He's been a real solid. He's been a rock in the backfield for the team. It's his senior year, so he's on his way out, but he's second on the team with 32 ground balls on the year, and he's having his best offensive year in terms of goals and points. 5 goals and an assist for 6 points on the year. And that's the number. That's good for the best defensive scorer on the team. It's no surprise why he is a captain this year.
Sean, with all those pieces clicking, do you see the Bobcats returning to the MAC tournament this year?
Yes, absolutely. The depth that this team has is incredible. They have 16 players at points on the team, 14 of which have goals, and 10 of which have multiple points on the team. 5 of the point scorers are both double-digit point scorers and double-digit goal scorers, and I think that depth isn't just going to get them to the MAC, it's going to get them a win.
Well, Sean, you talk about the depth of this roster, so who do you think the goalie should be going forward?
Joe Zakauskas, I think, is going to be the goalie going forward. He started 6 of his last 7 games the Bobcats have played, and in 5 of those 6, he's saved more goals than he's given up. He's had more saves than goals he's given up. In that span, the team is 3-3, and I think that he gives them a chance to win every time that they take the field. That, with the offensive production and the depth that they have, I think that they will get a win in the MAC this season.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you on air with us tonight, Sean.
Thanks for having me. It was a good time.
The men's team might have received a pair of shortcomings, but did the women? Let's find out. Opening conference play in the MAC, Quinnipiac dropped their opener to Monmouth on the road. While both Allison Kuhn and Brianna Fitzgerald recorded 2 goals, it wasn't enough. And as you can see here, the leading scorer for this Bobcat team, Ashley Bobinski, is not on the screen. That's because she didn't record 1 single goal in this game. And in my opinion, that's probably, Drew, why the Bobcats fell to the Monmouth team 14-8 in Jersey.
That definitely could be the reason, but a little bit better for the women's lacrosse team. Senior defender Kira Kelly was named the MAC Women's Defensive Player of the Week. Kelly earned the honor after an outstanding performance in Saturday's 14-8 defeat at Monmouth. Kelly finished the game with season highs in both ground balls with 8 and caused turnovers with 7. With this performance, Kelly is now tied for the national lead in caused turnovers per game with 3.11 per game. She has also moved up to 3rd nationally in ground balls per game at 4.89 per game. Kelly was chosen to the preseason All-MAC team in a vote of league coaches.
From defense to the offensive attack, sophomore Ashley Bobinski is leading the Bobcats in both goals and assists, giving her a total of 33 points. The next closest player to her on this roster is Allison Kuhn, and she still trails Bobinski by 16. As I mentioned earlier that this team had lost to Monmouth on Saturday, I'm completely attributing that to the fact that Bobinski did not record a single goal. Not only was there a new lacrosse field built this year, but a senior has been building this program for the past 4. Kira Kelly sat down with our own beat reporter, Shane Dennehy.
All right, thanks, Robin and Drew. I'm here with Quinnipiac senior defender Kira Kelly. Kira, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
All right, so obviously there's been a culture change here with the program, and obviously you guys are operating under Wheels Up. What does that mean?
Wheels Up to us, it's a reset button. It's a quick fix. It's when something goes wrong or something goes well, it's something that just unifies us. And it's kind of a flip of the switch for everyone on the team.
Right, obviously you've been through a lot, like in the past 4 years, you've seen the program change a lot. Do you and the other upperclassmen on this team view yourselves as kind of the pillars of this program who've kind of turned it around?
I think we actually see it as a whole unit because it doesn't take one class. If it's one class changing something, it's never going to trickle down and it's not going to be a long-term effect. So I think as a whole, we've kind of been trying to figure out how to connect every grade because in the end, that's the only way to build a program because we leave, someone else has to fill it up.
All right, obviously this year Kyle Larkin and Allie Kelsey have both been splitting time in goal throughout the game. How as a defender do you maintain focus with the goalies switching in and out?
I think it's something we do in practice too. They'll do 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. It's just a rotation. And I think it's knowing that each of them has a different style and just changing to that. And it's kind of, they'll come in and be like an energy boost, the change. So if Allie comes in, she'll be our quick switch. Or if Kyle comes in, it's a quick switch. So I think it's just knowing hey, let's try to give them the easy shot and move on from there.
I know we've talked about this a lot, like the culture. Only won 3 games your first 2 years here in conference, obviously kind of a poor stadium. How have you seen the culture of this program change over your 4 years here?
It's definitely been a change. I'm my 3rd coach now, so I think it's very different. Each coach has taught me one thing, but now we're working on building a winning program, and I think that's something that needs to be restored with how much funds and energy the school has put into us. So I think it's living up to our potential now.
Obviously you commented right there on having 3 coaches. How difficult was that to deal with having 3 different coaches?
I mean, I've learned something from each one, so I think that's kind of cool that no one gets to say that I've got to see 3 different perspectives. And I think each one's taught me a different thing, but I think it's going to be nice to see one coach stay here and actually build the program up.
All right, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
Robin and Drew, we're going to send it back to you at the desk.
We're now going to take a look at this week's Sports Paws Twitter poll. This week's question asked, will the Quinnipiac lacrosse team, who is improving this year, will they make the playoffs this season? 70% of you said the Bobcats will in fact win a playoff game, 30% of you say no, the Bobcats, who made the tournament last year, will not win a playoff game this season. Make sure to follow our Twitter at Q30 Sports to check out our weekly Twitter poll.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, the baseball team lengthened its extended road trip to New York as they face Stony Brook in a 3-game series this weekend.
And the softball team hosted 2 doubleheaders this weekend. Would the Bobcats come out on top? Stick around.
Whether you're on the quad,
in your room,
or heading to class,
tune in to Q30 News.
For stories by student journalists you can trust.
we are covering the latest here on campus and in surrounding areas.
Get the news you need to know every Wednesday night.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Qcash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
A moment to hear from our sponsor. Paws is brought to you by Custom Taste by Steve. If you can dream it, we can bake it.
Welcome back, and thank you for sticking with us.
Although returning from the tournament in the Sunshine State, softball remained on the road. But this trip was just about a 30-minute drive north to New Britain against Central Connecticut State University. Junior Taylor Troyan would be the lone player to knock in a run in this contest, as the Bobcats fell to in-state rival CCSU 11-1. The Blue Devils took an early 5-0 lead, scoring all 5 of their runs in the first inning, then adding another 6 in the next 2 innings alone. Junior outfielder Aaron Larson was the only Bobcat to record multiple hits on the afternoon, batting 2 for 3.
We're now going to take a look at the highlight as Quinnipiac hosted Wagner, out of conference Wagner. We're going to pick it up in the bottom of the 4th inning. The Bobcats up 1-0. Bridget Douglas is going to hit a gapper right here, right through center, left center, and is going to get a stand-up double off this one. 1 run scores. Kayla Cordero scores. Bobcats extend their lead to 2, and next pitch, Rachel Marchuk, kaboom, 2-run homer over the left center field, two more run score. Quinnipiac is up 6-0 here. Top of the 6th, the Seahawks of Wagner will not go away quietly. Bases loaded here, a little blooper that's just gonna be fair over the third base line, and the Seahawks are on the board, still trailing by 4 now. Next at bat, Zoe Bender is going to use her speed. Rachel Marchuk with the throw to first, but is safe on this one, and the Seahawks are back on the board. They cut the Bobcats' lead in half. To the top of the 7th now, Casey Herzog is struggling a little bit late in the game. The bases are loaded, and she walks Alyssa Tucker. And the Seahawks are now only trailing 6-4, but Casey Herzog would get it done at the end, and Quinnipiac will go on to win this one, 6-5.
On to the doubleheader, the Bobcats look to carry over the heat. 4 different players recorded multiple hits. Junior Erin Larson knocked out her 5th home run of the season, going 2 for 4. But Wagner brought out a fire extinguisher to cease the hot start the Bobcats had in Game 1, as they made a considerable amount of contact against Kendall Brundred, allowing 8 hits in just 4 innings.
Coming off a split series with Wagner, the Bobcats then took on UMass Lowell in a home doubleheader. Q30's own Mike Dalton has the story from Game 1.
It might have been a cold and cloudy March afternoon, but this is a day that will go down in Quinnipiac softball history.
I honestly didn't know until you just told me. Honestly, I just tried to work my basics and do half what happened just to make sure that
Casey Herzog became just the second pitcher in team history to throw 400 career strikeouts, and it couldn't have come at a better time. The Bobcats went into the bottom half of the 6th inning down by 1 run. Aaron Larson doubled to right center, and Lexi Courtney reached on an error. With 2 outs in the inning, Kaylani Finley stepped into the batter's box and put the team on her back, doubling to left center field and scoring Larson and Courtney. Herzog just needed 3 outs for the win and was 2 strikeouts away from number 400. But that's easier said than done. Herzog struck out the first batter she faced, then got the next batter to fly out, but the Riverhawks managed to load up the bases. Casey Harding had a chance to tie the game for UMass Lowell. However, she ended up being the final out of the game as she struck out swinging.
I tell Casey probably once, if not 2-3 times a year, I wish there were 9 of them. I wish we had 9 Caseys on the field every day, but we can't do that because of her. She's the kind of player that can carry the team on her back. So I think any milestone that she hit is completely well deserved. So absolutely.
Casey Herzog didn't just walk off the field that day with a win. She walked off that field with a milestone only one other player before her has achieved. For Q30 Sports, I'm Mike Dalton.
Splitting both doubleheaders, let's check out how senior pitcher Casey Herzog is performing compared to sophomore Abby Long. Or maybe it's better to say lack of performance. Drew, Herzog has struck out 75 batters in just 15 games. Let me say that one more time. 75 strikeouts.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, we can note the difference in innings pitched thus far, but there's a reason Herzog was named the MAC Softball Pitcher of the Week last week. I took the liberty to compare her to the rest of the MAC, and Drew, there was only one other pitcher in the entire conference who had recorded more than 50 strikeouts.
Herzog is no doubt outstanding, but after taking Game 1 against the Riverhawks, the Bobcats fell 9-0 in Game 2. Junior Kendall Brundrett got the start and took the loss. Brundrett gave up 3 earned runs and struck out 2 in the loss. Lexi Courtney recorded Quinnipiac's only hit of the game. UMass Lowell's Casey Herzog and Madison Alcorn each recorded 2 RBIs in the contest. We're now joined by softball beat reporter Mike Dalton. Mike, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Now, Dalton, we know that Casey Herzog is the obvious #1 for the Bobcats, but who do you see as the team's second option on the mound?
Well, Drew, for right now, I see Kendall Brundrett as being the #2 pitcher, but I'm going to repeat that. For now, I think Abby Long certainly has an opportunity to bounce back and become that #2 pitcher again. And I even asked Jill Karowski on Sunday why she decided to go with Kendall Brundrett over Long, and she said it simply, she earned the start. And even though Brundrett is usually their top reliever, Long has just been really struggling for them. She, like Robin said earlier, she has yet to win a game for the Bobcats. That's how much she's been struggling. And I also asked Herzog on Sunday how she could help Long sort of get out of this funk that she's in. And she said physically there's not really anything she can do. The only thing she can do is support her. And everyone on that team, including Herzog, knows what Abby Long is capable of doing. Last year, Long made the All-MAC rookie team, and she even got more wins than Casey Herzog. So she definitely can get back up to the level she was playing last year. But until she can prove that to herself and to her coaches, I think Kendall Brundrett has got to be the #2 pitcher for now.
So aside from those players, Mike, I also have to ask, Miranda Magana and Rebecca Drake, who would you say has stepped up for this team?
Well, Robin, I would say that the whole team has stepped up personally. However, I'm going to narrow it down to 5 players. And those 5 players are Rachel Marchuk, Megan Dyson, Bridget Douglas, Lexi Courtney, and Erin Larson. So first for Marchuk. She has been going off lately, and she is now at shortstop. She usually is a second baseman. However, she hasn't been as good on the defensive side, but that doesn't really matter when you are putting on a clinic offensively. This weekend alone, Marchuk had 2 doubles, a 2-run home run, 3 RBIs, and she has a .333 batting average, and she's 3rd on the team in hits with 21. Enough said right there. Lexi Courtney and Erin Larson have been helping to fill Drake's shoes on the defensive side at 3rd base, and Larson even showed off her defensive skills when a Wagner team lined out to the 3rd base line, and Larson used those cat-like reflexes to make the catch. As for Megan Dyson and Bridget Douglas. Sorry, there's so many players to remember, guys. But they have really been the unsung heroes of this team right now. They have been really taking every chance they've gotten. They usually aren't the starters in this on the team, but they have shown their potential. They each got doubles this weekend, and they have just been able to step up offensively and defensively.
Mike, with the team splitting the series this weekend, what does the team, in your opinion, need to improve on the most?
Defense, particularly fielding. I mean, this weekend, the Bobcats had several errors that could have definitely been avoided, and it caused players, Wagner players and Riverhawk players to get on base, and both teams really took advantage of that, scoring runs and essentially splitting the series.
Well, Mike, thank you for joining us as always.
Thank you, guys.
Now switching things from one diamond to another, the baseball team traveled to New York to take on the Stony Brook Seawolves in a 3-game series. Quinnipiac dropped both ends of a doubleheader on the road, falling in the openers 10-4 despite home runs from sophomore shortstop Dylan Lutz and senior first baseman Ben Gibson. The Bobcats then fell to Stony Brook 5-1 in the nightcap. Shortstop Nick Grande went 2 for 3 in the game, driving in 1 run for the Seawolves. Quinnipiac Brandon Shalekas pitched 6 innings for the Bobcats, striking out 7 and giving up 3 earned runs and 6 hits in the losing effort.
So as we head into this highlight, Drew, I have a fun fact for you.
Let me hear it.
The last time that the Bobcats played Stony Brook, the head coach, John Delaney, was a senior here at the Q himself.
Ooh, I like a good fun fact now and again.
Thought I'd share that. So we're going to head into the first inning right here. And Andre Marrero is going to hit a shot over the first baseman and bring home Dylan Lutz, which would give the Bobcats the first lead of the game. With runners on first and third for Stony Brook, Bobby Honeyman steals second base. Unable to throw him out, Nick Grande steals home.
It's a heads-up play right there.
Oh, yeah. Still in the bottom of the first, Brandon Alamo is going to single here to center field, driving in Sean Buckhout, making this a 2-1 game. We're going to flash to the bottom of the third, and Stony Brook is leading by 5. Brandon Janowski swings and gets this ball right past Ben Gibson. Just as the whole weekend seemed to pass by the Bobcats, so did these runs. And into the fourth inning we go. Stony Brook here, up 8-1. The ball's gonna be hit to Gibson at first base, who's gonna bobble this. Not able to make the throw, the Bobcats would finish with 6 errors compared to the Seawolves 1, handing them yet another loss, losing 9-2. Although this team has not been executing on the field as a whole, it looked as if one sophomore was making a rise in his proficiency at the plate. No longer a newcomer, Evan Volgmore had increased his batting average to .240. In 30 games last season, he recorded 15 hits. In only 19 games so far this season, he already has 18. Although uncharacteristic of him, he went 0 for 11 against Stony Brook this weekend.
It was announced today that the Quinnipiac baseball team was ranked 5th in New England in the first 2018 poll from the New England Intercollegiate Baseball Association. The Bobcats held the number 5 spot behind only UConn, Northeastern, and UMass Lowell and Boston College, who are tied for 3rd. QU cracks the top 5 in the poll for the 3rd time in history, having previously been ranked 1st in 2007.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, both tennis teams were home for 2 matches. Would the Bobcats come out on top in this weekend's matchups?
And as always, we bring you this week's top 5 plays of the week. Stay tuned.
Whether you're on the quad,
in your room,
or heading to class,
tune in to Q30 News.
For stories by student journalists you can trust.
we are covering the latest here on campus and in surrounding areas.
Get the news you need to know every Wednesday night.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Qcash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Sports Paws is brought to you by Custom Cakes by Steve. If you can dream it, we can bake it.
Did you miss us during that commercial break? Well, we're still here and we're ready to get back at it.
I have a hot take. The women's tennis team is pretty good. Since joining the MAC, the team has won 40 straight conference matches, and on Saturday that streak continued to 41. The team dropped the doubles point in a close battle, but regrouped to sweep all singles courts, as the Bobcats defeated the Purple Eagles 6-1. Freshman Dominique Fazil and junior Proifan Lofayazan swept singles and doubles for the Bobcats, taking a 6-3 at number 2 doubles.
And so we're going to head over to the golf team, who traveled down to Florida as well to play at Stetson University and those golf courses down there. The team would finish the long weekend placing 4th out of 12 teams. Freshman Queenie Lay, who has won consecutive Golfer of the Week awards these last 2 weeks. This weekend, she tied for 5th out of 70. Consistency was her middle name, as she shot a steady round with 14 pars on 18 holes, accompanied by 4 bogeys. Head coach John O'Connor said the course was pretty rough, but all in all, very proud. It's nice to be out in the good weather.
The men's tennis team entered this weekend's matches riding a 4-game losing streak. The team looked to turn things around as MAC play continued after a 5-month hiatus. The team fought off a tough battle from visitors Niagara early in singles, but came away with a 6-1 victory over the Purple Eagles. The Bobcats hosted the Rams of Fordham on Sunday afternoon. Sweeping doubles and using its depth in singles, the team defeated Fordham 5-2, backed by the play of Julian Rosenstein and Alex Stern. After improving to 2-0 in conference play this weekend, the Bobcats will travel to New York to continue conference play against Siena on April 7th.
SportsCenter has their top 10, but SportsPass has your top 5. I'm positive you'll want to watch these. Let's get us going, Drew.
Well, I will get us going. Top 5 plays of the week, and we're going to start play number 5, men's lacrosse. Foster Cuomo is going to be, the puck is going to be hitting the ground. Foster Cuomo is just going to scoop it right in to the net. Holy Cross will unfortunately win this one.
Let's jump into play 4. As I said earlier, baseball traveled to New York to play Stony Brook. In the third game, QU up by 1, goes to throw it to second, and yet Stony Brook scores on this mistake right here.
Coming in at number 3, back to men's lacrosse, Jake Tomsick is going to go side by side with the Holy Cross score zone and make his way to the net, falling down but getting the goal.
For play 2, staying on men's lacrosse here, Drew, number 2, Connor Waldron gets close to the net and passes to number 6, Logan LeBlanc, who snaps the ball behind his back.
That's a beauty. But coming in at number 1 to the softball field, game 1, top of the 7th against UMass Lowell. Bases loaded with 2 outs. And Casey Herzog is going to get it done. Her 400th career strikeout. You're going to see it right there.
Amazing. Well, that's a wrap from us here in Studio 125 tonight. To stay in the loop with all our content from our incredible reporters, follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports and our website at Q30television.com.
For all of our crew behind the scenes and my wonderful co-host Robin Brown, I'm Drew Feinberg. We'll see you next week.